Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the Political Matrix.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Fink here with the Political Matrix News, and we got Scott Miller here, my wonderful partner. How you doing, Scott?
Oh, bumping the top.
Yeah, a little handlebar going there, really good. We have an incredible mustache contest here going, and he is kicking my ass every which way. And so, but I think we're going to talk about today is marijuana, and I think we're going to be talking about the classification of marijuana to Schedule 3. We talked about this on another podcast a couple of last week, and with all the ballot initiatives coming up all around the country, with marijuana being on them. As far as it being recreational, and then you had the medical use, and so I mean, really, we talked about what the Schedule 3 scheduling of it to that level is going to do to the election process. And I mean, there's still a lot more shoes I think out there ready to drop, because I think a lot of people really still are unsure as to what it will do. I mean, what's your opinion on it? I mean, you're pretty well versed in the legalization of it, the medical marijuana side.
Well, I've been following it certainly for a long time. I mean, really, I truly didn't start getting engaged in it till 2013 when Florida's first compassionate use statute was put into play. But I've been following it for a long time, and honestly, for a very long time, I've said that simply rescheduling it would be far more appropriate than all these constitutional amendments and changes and things of that nature, because rescheduling it at a federal level, while the states certainly have the right to do it, but rescheduling it there integrates it into an already tightly designed and better designed regulatory process. And right now it's a Schedule 1 narcotic, which means that it has no accepted medical use. But for the longest time, I've said there are far more dangerous drugs that are Schedule 3 than marijuana. And I think starting it out at Schedule 3 is fine, but Schedule 4 is probably where it really ought to be, because there's you can argue about the benefits of it, but the dangers of it are ridiculous. It's not physically addictive, and the side effects are laughable compared to things. Marijuana is often used to treat neurological disorders, and one of the primary neurological drugs out there is a thing called Dilantin that has like a page and a half of side effects. So getting the marijuana to at least that level, I think, is entirely appropriate.
Yeah, I think right now it looks like the next step, according to this AP article here, is the White House taking a look at it, and the Office of Management and Budget. And so I guess there's the whole issue there, the banking side of it, the financial side of it.
And that has been the persistent problem with legalized marijuana from the get-go is, they've literally had to write federal directives into the budget every couple of years to keep the banks and other people from coming down, or not even the banks, the Treasury Department, because the banks would take the money in a heartbeat, but they're terrified of what the Treasury Department's going to do to them. And they've literally had to pass legislation every couple of years to keep the Treasury Department off of these, state legalized programs. So,
because right now, I guess it's on the equivalent of LSD, heroin, Quaaludes, ecstasy, and so.
Oh yeah, it has some very harsh company with it. The interesting thing is going to be, how is this going to affect, the elections and stuff like that in Florida. Florida is a battleground state, so I won't be surprised if they push this back to the other side of the election, because Florida is an important state for them, and Florida could go either way. And recreational marijuana, which is going to be on the ballot this time, and that'll drive people to the ballot box. But if it becomes a federally legalized product, as far as medical use goes, I don't think that they're going to be quite the. It's going to be quite the compelling draw that it would have been,
Right.
in the vacuum.
I mean, that's another question is that with all the medical marijuana out there with True Leave and Vatican and all the other large medical marijuana dispensaries that are throughout Florida, how will this affect, I mean, those medical marijuana dispensaries? Is it going to, I mean, because if you're going to be able to get at CVS or Walgreens now, or you can get at Walmart just over the counter or from a pharmacy at those places, how's it going to affect all the, just special dispensaries where, as we both know, the Gates family has basically cornered the market, making sure that their buddies or their interests are the ones who are getting the licenses for the dispensaries whenever it was written back in 2013. And
Well,
so, I
I
mean,
think it's
it'll be interesting to
more
see.
fair to say. I think it's more fair to say that they have that the Gates, Don and Matt wrote that legislation, and the
Oh, that's
original
being
legislation,
harsh.
huh?
You don't think it's being
Well,
a little harsh?
that's being harsh. No, it's a matter of
I'm
record
just
that Matt wrote the House legislation, and his dad helped him, get it through the Senate. So I mean
That's true.
that
It
part's
was called Charlotte's Web back then. Yeah,
yeah, that part is without dispute,
I was just
and
trying to
Matt has,
give. I was trying to give a week to being nice to Matt.
the part of it that is that's suspect as far as the Gates go is that the Matt, that most of the people who wound up getting licenses also had a connection to the Gates family.
Or donated to Matt
Well,
or his father.
I can't say that. I don't know that they did or not.
Or
Who all they may have donated to, but I can say that they had connections to the Gates family at some point.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. I do know we had talked about it back then, and we had talked about I think about half of the people, or we believe had donated one way to another to like a super PAC or a PAC or something that they might have been tied to.
Well,
But with the way everything is set up in the election laws and the election, verification of those people who are donating it got a little convoluted back then. But I do know one
I
thing.
mean, it's a nearly impossible web to untangle.
Exactly. I mean, it's a very deep web. And so, I mean, but I think the whole issue here, though, is, I mean, what's this going to do to the election? I think it's going to decrease the turnout. I think it'll take away a lot of the excitement of going to recreationalize marijuana because, I mean, I don't think people are going to want to go take out. I mean, if they're single issue voters already and they don't have any other dog in the hunt to go vote, I don't think that one issue is going to drive them or compel them to go out and vote anymore. I think they're going to have to depend on the abortion issues and the presidential issues and the state, Senate races and everything else. I think it's going to be a single member driver, a single issue driver as they thought it might be.
Well, I don't think that it will either. I mean, mostly because, a lot of the people that would potentially support recreational marijuana are doing it because of how onerous, getting a medical card is, where you have to,
Right, it
go
is.
see a doctor every like 6 months or something like that, or whatever,
It's like
whatever they said.
$150 every 6 months.
Yeah, it's like $300 a year by the time all the math is
Right.
done and stuff like that. So I don't, if they take that away to where it's something that literally, like as you said, Walgreens could carry, and Walgreens might, if it's federally legal, there's a very good chance that they will carry it.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
And maybe not the first year, but it won't take them long to jump on that bandwagon. As
Mm.
far as all the growers go, I mean, someone's got to grow it, and what'll wind up happening is a lot of consolidation in that industry. Those guys, those
Right.
groups will consolidate into multi-state conglomerates, and we'll wind up having, instead of the thousands that are growing in the various states, it'll consolidate down to probably, a couple of dozen if we're lucky, a couple of dozen.
Well, farmers or
Farmers, yeah,
okay.
companies, yeah. I don't know that it would be out of the question to find out that ADM or some of the big corporate farming interests
Right, commercial
jump right
farming.
into
Yeah.
it, because I mean they already have farmers and
Right.
farmland under contract, they can just go ahead and say, hey, stop growing soybeans. Now you're growing this.
Right. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I think also the whole banking of it, being able to make it safer for people to make payments for marijuana through credit cards or checks, or I mean, not just everything in cash like it currently is, where it's very unsafe for the people working in the stores, and it's very, tenable as far as the safety and security of all the funding and how it's taken care of and how the taxes are paid for it or they're not paid for it. And so I think it's going to be really good, shape everything up on that side.
Well, if they reschedule marijuana, then it's still going to be illegal for recreational purposes. So for recreational purposes, they'll still have the banking problem. And what is very likely to happen is when in the same boat that they're rescheduling it over here, they're going to take away the protections in the Treasury Department because they just won't reauthorize that protective bill because they won't need it. When they do that, then the bureaucracy will just snap into place where they will go after the people who are breaking federal law by marketing controlled substances, outside the federal system.
Right. Okay. Well, it's going to be very interesting because, I mean, the election's coming out right around the corner. I mean, it's happening, it's sneaking up on everybody very quickly. And so it's going to be very interesting to see this year. But that's enough for this segment here real quick on Political Metrics News. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with some more news in the local Florida area. Bye-bye.